Today, the peach supply store was unusually quiet, yet a handsome 20-year-old young man was frantically shopping. He purchased 1-meter-long socks, captivating perfumes, and condoms. Passers-by stared at me in astonishment, thinking I was an idiot. Only I knew that after midnight today, the Blood Purgatory would descend, and the apocalypse mode would be activated. Not only would flora and fauna mutate into various monsters to slaughter humanity, but even humans would transform into zombies. However, I wasn't panicked at all, for I had awakened the goddess Compendium System. As long as I could collect various talented beauties, I would continuously gain different abilities, growing stronger and stronger. 7 days later. At this moment, I was sitting on the sofa watching the news when the doorbell suddenly rang. Zhou Ci, are you there? Please open the door and give me something to eat. It seemed, the beautiful madam opposite had finally reached her breaking point. Outside the door, I had posted a recruitment notice. Urgently seeking help, food and accommodation provided. Preference given to those with high attractiveness, good figure, and excellent temperament. Because the apocalypse had descended, most people had not prepared supplies in advance, leading to a cut-off of food rations, and they couldn't last for more than a few days. Although I had prepared a lot of supplies, I couldn't cook, so I was rather miserable, eating instant noodles every day. On one fortuitous occasion, I had met the beautiful madam. At that moment, the system displayed a prompt. Name, Liu Qingwan. Occupation, full-time homemaker. Appearance rating, 96. Overall rating, 97. Pending awakened ability, S-tier ability Culinary Healing. Compendium activation reward, SSS-tier ability Spatial Manipulation. Charges, 1, like a ravenous beast, once the door is opened, the Fish King will surge like a torrent. Gourmet, cooking skills 100% enhanced. Food prepared by her possesses healing capabilities, boosting the effect of culinary healing. Widow, considerate and gentle, broad-minded and understanding, she can competently manage and handle your future collection of goddesses, an indispensable homemaker. This led to the notice outside the door. I opened the door. The woman before me possessed a truly alluring appearance. Her long, dark hair was braided into a thick plait that cascaded over her magnificent, ample bosom. One look, and I knew she was a prime entry for the compendium. Excuse me, does the maid position have an age limit? Lacking self-confidence, Liu Qingwan posed the question with an uneasy heart. My reply was decisive and imbued with righteous conviction. I had already welcomed Liu Qingwan into my home. And, seizing the opportunity, I placed my hand on Liu Qingwan's shoulder. In response, Liu Qingwan's delicate body merely trembled slightly. She glanced at me, but said nothing more. She had already made up her mind before coming to find me. After leading Liu Qingwan to sit beside me on the sofa, I got straight to the point and asked. You must understand what I mean, right? Someone like you is perfectly suited to be a maid. Filled with admiration for Liu Qingwan. Yes, I understand. Liu Qingwan's gaze lowered, she pursed her lips and nodded. Therefore, starting today, you shall reside here. Remember to fulfill your duties as a maid. I said with a smile. Wait a moment, may I see your supplies first? Liu Qingwan inquired. Certainly, there is no issue. Liu Qingwan followed me into a specially designated storage room. Pushing open the door. The sight of abundant supplies caused Liu Qingwan to gasp in astonishment, her mouth agape. The storage room was divided into two distinct areas. One section housed ambient temperature provisions such as rice, flour, oil, water, self-heating hot pots, clay pot rice, chocolates, bread, and candies. The other side, which I had converted into a cold storage unit, contained a variety of vegetables, fruits, dairy products, and meats. Confronted with such an abundance of provisions, Liu Qingwan was dumbfounded, her eyes welling up with tears she could barely hold back. She and her daughter would finally be free from hunger. Do you believe it now? Liu Qingwan remained silent, merely nodding blankly. To be frank, she had not yet recovered from her profound shock. This was, quite literally, a transition from hell to heaven overnight. 7 days had passed since the apocalypse began, and their household supplies had long been depleted. To conserve food, her daughter spent entire days sleeping, noticeably thinner than before. Desperate and with no other recourse, Liu Qingwan had sought refuge with me, finally finding a source of support. It is time for you to fulfill your promise. I gently put my arm around Liu Qingwan's shoulder, offered a slight smile, and walked towards the bedroom. Don't call me Mrs. Her bashful demeanor immediately caused my youthful vigor to surge, prompting me to pounce forward in a sudden movement. As the bedroom door closed, indistinct and indescribable cries faintly emanated from within. Host, Zhou Ci, level, tier 1 2 stars, abilities, spatial dominion, culinary healing. Cataloged member, Liu Qingwan, ability, culinary healing, tier 1 1 star. Activated, gourmet, 100% enhancement of culinary skills, food prepared by them possesses healing properties, augmenting the effect of the culinary healing ability. Upon first activating the catalog goddess Liu Qingwan, the spatial dominion ability was granted as a reward. Liu Qingwan has awakened the culinary healing ability, a catalog goddess ability, which the host can also independently master. Liu Qingwan was no longer by my side. Upon awakening, I noticed the distinct sounds of cooking emanating from the kitchen. Evidently, the lady had settled well into her role. I expressed my approval with a satisfied nod. Recalling the fierce battle that had just concluded, I couldn't help but blush, silently savoring the memory. One could only say, she truly lived up to her reputation, fierce as a wolf. That self-awareness, that striking power, that unparalleled technique. Had I not consistently maintained my fitness and training, and eaten well every day, I might genuinely not have been able to overcome Liu Qingwan. Even so, I nearly failed to withstand it. And after this experience, I felt as if my mind and body had been completely soothed and healed. The ultimate specimen, truly sublime. I cheerfully entered the living room, where I happened upon Liu Qingwan, emerging from the kitchen with an array of delectable dishes. Liu Qingwan spoke in a soft, hushed voice, her face flushed with shyness. She appeared slightly embarrassed, turning her face away to avoid my gaze. My gaze swept across the dining table, laden with delicacies such as braised pork ribs, scrambled eggs with tomatoes, and kung pao chicken. I picked up a piece of food to taste. As expected of a gourmand, the aroma of this full meal truly surpasses that of instant noodles. You should partake as well. Noticing that Liu Qingwan was merely watching me eat, I promptly extended an invitation. Zhou Ci, I actually have a request. Liu Qingwan spoke, nervously rubbing her fingers. What request? I paused, my chopsticks in hand, and asked curiously. Would you allow me to send some supplies to my daughter? She has already fainted from hunger once. The very next moment after Liu Qingwan finished speaking, a system panel suddenly appeared before my eyes. Name, Liu Ruyan, occupation, university student, appearance rating, 97, overall rating, 98. Abilities to be awakened, SS tier martial arts heart. Charging count, 0, untouched, yet exceptionally gifted. Martial artist, can comprehend martial arts independently, possesses excellent martial arts talent, indomitable spirit, enhances the martial arts heart ability, always at the forefront, never shirking responsibility. Elite mature woman, slender waist, long legs, type, enjoys fitness, taekwondo club president, prefers action over words, will become your most loyal and most synchronized partner. Upon seeing this profile description, I immediately slammed my hand on the table. Righteousness beyond compare. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Take me to her. In truth, Liu Qingwan also wished to rescue her daughter sooner, but alas, as the saying goes, one must bow one's head when under someone else's roof. She had to ensure that you, her master, received ample care and service before she dared to cautiously put forth her small request. Fortunately, I was not a demanding master. Upon confirming that Liu Qingwan's daughter, Liu Ruyan, also possessed immense strategic value, I unhesitatingly decided to include Liu Ruyan in my roster as well. This mother and daughter pair would have clear divisions of labor, one would handle external matters, fighting alongside me against zombies, the other would manage internal affairs, assisting me in navigating relationships among the goddesses. I felt extremely satisfied. Seeing how much I cared for her daughter, Liu Qingwan was almost moved to tears. Her only thought was that in the days to come, she must fulfill her duties diligently and satisfy all my needs. When Liu Qingwan opened the door and led me into her daughter Liu Ruyan's bedroom, I witnessed Liu Ruyan at that moment. She lay quietly on the bed, her breathing even, her body relaxed, wearing a white sports bra and black yoga pants, with her hands clasped together. Her defined abs, a slender yet powerful waist, prominent peaks, and long, straight legs were all revealed. What a devilishly alluring figure. Not to mention, Liu Ruyan's appearance was exceptionally enchanting. It perfectly complemented her figure. "Is she asleep?" I asked softly. She said that sleeping consumed the least amount of energy, so she forced herself to sleep every day. A hint of a sob was already present in Liu Qingwan's voice. "Then what are you waiting for? Go wake her up and feed her," I said with a touch of urgency. I truly couldn't bear to see my second wife endure such torment any longer. "Zhou Ci," Liu Qingwan said, her beautiful eyes conveying overflowing gratitude as she looked at me. I held her and kissed her forehead. "We're family, there's no need for thanks." With that, Liu Qingwan took the food she had brought with her and went to Liu Ruyan's bedside. Meanwhile, I had quietly left Liu Ruyan's bedroom, settling onto the living room sofa to wait quietly. One must allow a mother and daughter some space for privacy and communication, mustn't one? Liu Qingwan led the now more energetic Liu Ruyan out of the bedroom. Liu Ruyan looked at me, her eyes filled with a complex mix of anger and conflict, her emotions difficult to express. In the bedroom, Liu Qingwan had confessed everything between herself and me to her daughter, Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan did not blame her mother, instead, she understood her decision. In this apocalyptic world, relying on the strong was indeed a better way to survive. What's more, her mother was trying to save her. "Xiaoyun, call Uncle Zhou." Liu Qingwan lightly patted her daughter, Liu Ruyan, and spoke shyly. Liu Ruyan closed her eyes, gritted her teeth, and was preparing to force herself to call out. However, I smiled and spoke first. "Ruyan and I are of similar age, just call me by my name, Zhou Ci." "What a joke! Liu Ruyan will eventually be my woman. What kind of arrangement is it to call me uncle? I myself would prefer a different form of address." Liu Ruyan did not utter a word, merely nodding obediently. For a moment, the three fell silent, unsure how to continue the conversation. Their current relationship was indeed somewhat delicate. Mom, you and Zhou Ci should head back first. I just want to be alone for a bit." As the atmosphere at the scene gradually cooled, Liu Ruyan gently nudged her mother, Liu Qingwan, who was beside her. Upon hearing Liu Ruyan's words, I also expressed my understanding. All that had been experienced this day was indeed somewhat difficult to digest. Without further words, I took Liu Qingwan and left the scene first, returning home. After enjoying the meal, I felt full of energy and needed to release some of it. Upon returning home and closing the door, I immediately sealed Liu Qingwan's tender lips with mine and began to be handsy. Zhou Ci." Liu Qingwan's beautiful eyes widened, and her delicate hands shyly patted me. I, however, merely gave a mischievous smile. "Call me ****. Liu Qingwan's face visibly flushed even more, and she actively raised one leg. Just as I was becoming intimate with Liu Qingwan, Liu Ruyan sat in her bedroom, rapidly scrolling through her phone screen. Thanks to the intact infrastructure, services such as electricity and network were still operating normally. This also explained why no large-scale public unrest had been seen so far. She opened a short video application, and the first video pushed on the homepage piqued her curiosity. In the video, a slender middle-aged man instantly transformed into a 3-meter-tall, burly muscular giant. He swung his fist at an iron block in front of him, and the block immediately shattered into pieces. Liu Ruyan's eyes widened, watching the scene on the screen in disbelief. She replayed the video several times, confirming that she had not been mistaken. That seemingly ordinary middle-aged man possessed such astonishing power. In the comments section, netizens were also in an uproar, speculating whether it was a special effect or a truly existing ability. Liu Ruyan's heart was filled with doubt and curiosity. She wanted to know the truth behind this video, and why such an ability had emerged. She decided to continue browsing, hoping to find more related information. While various supernatural abilities were not uncommon in the apocalypse, it remained difficult to believe without witnessing them firsthand. At the end of the video, the middle-aged man narrated, on the 6th day after the red rain descended, our household's food supply ran out, and overwhelmed by hunger, I ventured out to find sustenance. As soon as I stepped out of the door, I encountered a zombie corpse. A red light briefly flashed from its head. Out of curiosity, I approached to inspect it and dug a red crystal from its forehead. This crystal vanished instantly in my hand. Immediately after, I experienced the physical changes shown at the beginning of the video. My hunger disappeared, and my body seemed to become much stronger. This is probably what they call a supernatural ability. Liu Ruyan noticed that despite the low view count of the video, the comments section was exceptionally active. Is this uncle telling a myth? Perhaps he's delirious from hunger. Could this be a fated super ability user? She suddenly thought. If this supernatural ability truly existed, it would undoubtedly be a huge turning point for humanity in the apocalypse. This red crystal was the key to unlocking the supernatural ability. Yet, Liu Ruyan suddenly recalled the delicious dishes her mother, Liu Qingwan, had prepared for her. Wait, what kind of food? Food that could immediately restore my physical strength and spirit after eating. Could it be related to Zhou Ci? Liu Ruyan's thoughts drifted back to her mother's cooked delicacies. Why were those foods able to quickly restore her from the weakness of hunger? A startling hypothesis suddenly flashed through her mind. Could it be that her mother, Liu Qingwan, had awakened the superpower shown in the video? Liu Ruyan intuitively felt that something was amiss with this matter. However, she also knew that with her mother Liu Qingwan's gentle nature, she would not risk venturing out to search for food, stumble upon a zombie crystal core, and thus awaken superpowers. Therefore, the root of the problem could only be that man, Zhou Ci. Recalling her mother's mention that after their shared experience, she clearly felt her body and mind purified, as if she had become much younger. Liu Ruyan was now convinced that an unknown secret was undoubtedly hidden within me. If it was truly possible to successfully awaken superpowers after battling with me, then she, Liu Ruyan understood that in this apocalypse, without awakening special abilities, she would eventually be completely devoured by zombies and mutated creatures. To protect herself and her mother, Liu Qingwan, Liu Ruyan was willing to sacrifice everything. Once her decision was clear in her heart, Liu Ruyan no longer hesitated. Pushing open the door, she knocked on my room door. The knocking sound echoed 3 times consecutively. My voice was clear and resonant. As the door opened, I saw Liu Ruyan's flushed face appear even more captivating, and I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Zhou Ci, where's my mom? Liu Ruyan asked. Your mother, she's a bit indisposed at the moment, I replied, my cheeks flushed, having not anticipated Liu Ruyan would ask such a direct question. Nevertheless, I decided to answer truthfully. After all, Liu Ruyan would eventually become my woman, such a moment was bound to arrive. I simply hadn't yet decided on the method by which I would add Liu Ruyan to my collection. Shameless, in broad daylight, Liu Ruyan cursed inwardly. However, no trace of it showed on her face. After all, I had saved her life. Recalling the purpose of her visit, Liu Ruyan's anger immediately dissipated. Are you free now? Liu Ruyan asked after taking a deep breath. What is it? I asked, somewhat puzzled, not understanding Liu Ruyan's intention. I want to have a talk with you, Liu Ruyan said, gathering her courage. As I spoke, I opened the door and walked towards the sofa. However, I hadn't anticipated that Liu Ruyan would suddenly grab the corner of my clothes from behind. Do you have any other bedrooms? Let's go to the bedroom next door, Liu Ruyan said, biting her lip, her voice as faint as a mosquito's, her cheeks flushed with bashfulness. Upon hearing Liu Ruyan's daring words, my voice couldn't help but grow a few decibels louder. This provoked Liu Ruyan to pinch my waist hard, making me wince and fall silent. Master. It was at this moment that Liu Qingwan, sensing my movement, softly inquired from the master bedroom. Her voice was alluring and captivating, unsettling my mind. Upon hearing her mother's voice and the way she addressed me, Liu Ruyan lowered her head, her cheeks flushing red. How could mother be like this? What would happen next? You continue to rest. Despite my inner turmoil, I clearly understood what was most important at that moment. I pushed open the door to the second bedroom, ushered Liu Ruyan inside, and then gently closed the door. Liu Ruyan merely glanced around, seemingly assenting, and said nothing further. Why have you come to find me? I leaned against the wall and initiated the conversation. Has my mother awakened a special ability? Liu Ruyan asked directly. How did you know? I inquired with interest. Perhaps Liu Qingwan herself had not yet realized, but her daughter had already guessed. How could the food she cooked allow someone like me, who had been hungry for days, to recover so quickly after eating it? From my words, Liu Ruyan understood that her mother, Liu Qingwan, had indeed awakened a special ability. You are truly intelligent. I nodded in approval. It seemed Liu Ruyan not only possessed outstanding martial arts talent but also a remarkably agile mind. My mother's successful awakening of a special ability was because of you, wasn't it? Although a question, Liu Ruyan's tone was full of certainty. I frankly admitted it. There was no need to conceal such a matter. This was precisely the key to attracting the goddess. Then, I have a request. Liu Ruyan bit her pearly teeth lightly, her pretty face involuntarily blushing. What request? Could you also do that to me? Liu Ruyan mustered her courage to speak, her voice trembling. Aren't you afraid you won't awaken an ability, or that I might actually be deceiving you? I was astonished by Liu Ruyan's audacious request. This girl was remarkably brave. I trust you. You saved both my mother and me, so what harm would one time do? As she spoke, Liu Ruyan smiled faintly, having relaxed considerably. That smile was like the warm sun in winter, radiant and captivating, warming my heart. Congratulations, you will not regret your choice today. My lips curved into a slight smile. I had not anticipated that the process of accepting Liu Ruyan would be so smooth. As an outstanding student from Luochang University, Liu Ruyan grasped many concepts instantly, understanding them with a mere touch or hint. Possessing such a powerful and intelligent future goddess as an ally filled me with immense joy. No sooner had the words left my lips than I hesitated no more, striding forward to touch Liu Ruyan's lithe yet firm waist. Together, they sought the garden's fragrant embrace. The atmosphere in the room instantly turned rosy and fervent. Liu Ruyan closed her eyes tightly, feeling my presence draw nearer, and her heartbeat quickened in response. I gently laid Liu Ruyan on the bed, then slowly leaned over. After 9981 thrusts, both of them were covered in sweat. Liu Ruyan felt a warm current surge within her, as if something was quietly awakening inside. She suddenly opened her eyes, which now shimmered with an unusual light. It was the distinctive radiance of an awakened ability user. Observing Liu Ruyan's transformation, a satisfied smile played on my lips. At this very moment, Liu Ruyan had successfully awakened her special ability. And I, in turn, would gain a powerful companion. Subsequently, Liu Ruyan and I engaged in a deeper exchange between awakened individuals, seeking to achieve a remarkable 81 shots in billiards internally. The night was deep and quiet. Following my command, Liu Qingwan rose from the bed after changing into a black and white maid outfit, her cheeks tinged with a blush. I, however, remained full of vigor. She sighed softly, then turned and walked towards the kitchen, preparing to make a late-night snack for my daughter Liu Ruyan and me. An hour silently slipped by. It was only then that I languidly stretched my limbs and, contentedly, stepped out of the room. This day, it seemed, had left no discernible impact on me. The late-night snack is ready for you. Where is Ruyan? Liu Qingwan asked, emerging from the kitchen with the food and noticing that Liu Ruyan had not followed. She has already fallen asleep, I replied. I had already settled down at the dining table and began to eat, anticipating the enjoyment of this delightful meal. Liu Qingwan's culinary skills were indeed extraordinary. With the enhancement of her special ability, the food became immeasurably delicious. Liu Qingwan understood and did not press further. She knew her daughter's personality well, no one could force her unless she was willing. Qingwan, join me for a bite, my voice suddenly interrupted Liu Qingwan's thoughts. She sat beside me as instructed, the two of us so close that we were almost touching. She understood her role. I was satisfied with Liu Qingwan's initiative. I reached out and pulled her into my arms, the movement a little rough, causing Liu Qingwan to let out a soft cry of protest. After Liu Ruyan joined, I gained an offensive ability, and my rank also leaped to Tier 1, 3 stars. I plan to go out the following morning to diligently gather more resources. Qingwan, I plan to go out tomorrow morning. You and Ruyan will stay at home. With this thought, I revealed my plan to Liu Qingwan. Won't it be dangerous? It's so perilous outside, can you ensure your safety? The moment my words fell, genuine, unfeigned worry appeared on Liu Qingwan's face. Now, her eyes were filled with profound concern for me. Once Ruyan wakes up, she'll tell you some information about me, and then you'll understand. I offered a hint of a mysterious smile. After a satisfying meal and drinks, I reluctantly departed from the soft bed. Immediately after, I lifted Liu Qingwan in a bridal carry. Master, you have important things to do tomorrow. Liu Qingwan gently patted my shoulder, a hint of playful protest in her voice. Underestimating me? If you're so capable, don't beg for mercy. I whispered softly into Liu Qingwan's ear. Feeling refreshed, I emerged from the room. In excellent spirits, I casually ate some bread for breakfast and prepared to pack up and leave. After picking up the metal baseball bat that had long awaited me by the door, and empowered by the heart of martial arts, my bat techniques were remarkably systematic, each strike potentially lethal. After eliminating a few zombies, I discovered that my luck was surprisingly good. I squatted down and picked up a crystal core that had dropped from several zombie heads. I weighed the crystal core in my hand, it then dissipated, transforming into invisible energy that nourished my body and spirit, slightly boosting my level. Along the way, I encountered a few more zombies, but thanks to my excellent agility and keen perception, I was always able to easily evade or swiftly dispatch them. Finally, I arrived in the outside world. The world outside was starkly different from within the residential complex, filled with scenes of desolation. Abandoned vehicles, shattered glass, and scattered belongings all silently spoke of the apocalypse's brutality. I dared not dwell on these sentiments. I now had only one thought, to gather as many supplies as possible, enhance my strength, and protect myself and those around me. In the midst of this, I couldn't help but wonder what the two women were doing back home. I actually awakened an ability. Liu Qingwan gazed at Liu Ruyan, her eyes wide with disbelief. Liu Ruyan's explanation provided Liu Qingwan with a general understanding of the situation. This implies that every woman with whom I have been intimate will, without exception, awaken supernatural abilities. Her own awakened ability, for instance, allows her to imbue food with healing properties, enabling those who consume it to recover from injuries while savoring their meal. Upon awakening today, a deluge of information surged into Liu Ruyan's mind, making it instantly clear that her newly awakened ability was likely related to close-quarters combat. The awakening of these abilities was, undoubtedly, a positive development. Their resources for surviving the apocalypse, both for mother and daughter, had significantly increased. Yet, all these profound changes could be attributed to one individual, a man who was. It appears both of us will have to willingly pledge our support to Zhou Ci now, Liu Ruyan stated with gravity. Being exceptionally intelligent, she naturally recognized the immense value and popularity someone like myself would command in this new, apocalyptic era. Liu Qingwan's cheeks began to flush, her thoughts seemingly adrift to some unknown destination. Upon entering the convenience store, I promptly activated my extraordinary ability. I swiftly gathered all the food, bottled water, and any other items I deemed useful from within the convenience store, transferring them into my personal spatial dimension. Items acquired without cost invariably possess the greatest allure. Having emptied the convenience store, I resolved to return to the residential complex, ceasing my risky endeavors outside. For my next outing, I intended to bring Liu Ruyan along, understanding that collaborating as a duo would prove far more effective than operating solo. The moment I reached my doorstep, both mother and daughter were already there, having awaited my arrival for some time. Liu Qingwan remained clad in her alluring black and white maid attire, having already prepared a lavish spread of dishes on the table. Liu Ruyan, by contrast, had changed into a white camisole and hot pants, appearing strikingly captivating. The instant they saw me, both women eagerly rushed forward without a moment's hesitation. "Zhou Ci," they exclaimed in perfect unison. This collective cry significantly lifted my spirits. Embracing both Liu Qingwan and Liu Ruyan, I reveled in the soft embrace of their waists, experiencing an unparalleled sense of contentment. After sharing a kiss with both Liu Qingwan and Liu Ruyan, I inquired with a gentle smile. Is everything now understood? They responded with obedient nods. After a brief, gentle caress, I reluctantly released them from my embrace. We then proceeded to the dining table. With a wave of my hand, a veritable mountain of supplies materialized from thin air, accumulating in a towering pile. This collection represented the spoils of my recent expedition. Qingwan, when you have a moment, please organize these items, conduct an inventory, and then store them in the designated supply room, I instructed Liu Qingwan first. Liu Qingwan, of course, handled household chores with natural ease and skill. Your ability is the heart of martial arts. You will display immense talent in the martial arts. Over the next few days, I will conduct one-on-one training with you to help you enhance your strength. Liu Ruyan had no objections to this. In fact, she felt quite excited. She was not surprised that I knew the name and function of her ability, as she understood that I possessed my own secrets. Liu Ruyan had no desire to delve deeper into this secret. Master, what about me? What is the name of my ability? At this moment, Liu Qingwan gently tugged at my sleeve, asking softly with curiosity. Your ability is Culinary Healing. You will be responsible for cooking, whether it's for replenishing energy or healing injuries, you will prove invaluable. You only need to remain at home, leave the matters of venturing out and adventuring to Ruyan and me. I dotingly flicked Liu Qingwan's nose, responding with a smile. As Liu Qingwan was my first companion, I naturally harbored deep affection for her. In the future, I will also need Liu Qingwan to manage the goddesses within our household. Her role and status are irreplaceable. As for my ability, you have probably guessed it, it is related to space. Regarding anything else, I can only state one thing, what is yours is mine. I had told Liu Qingwan and Liu Ruyan almost everything I could disclose. The matter of the system was an exception. Having been out for so long, you must be hungry. Liu Qingwan picked up a piece of food with her chopsticks, then promptly offered a cup of water, preventing me from choking. She truly was an excellent maidwife. It seemed that Qingwan would have to loosen her up again. At this moment, as Ruyan and I were preparing to leave to collect supplies, we had barely reached the community entrance when we discovered that the property manager, accompanied by 88 security guards, had encircled us. What is the meaning of this? I asked with a raised eyebrow and a smile. It's the apocalypse now, so what do you think I mean? Enough talk, hand over all your supplies, and I might consider sparing your life. The woman behind you, and the one at your home, will gladly accept them. Wang Wu, the leading property manager, spoke with insolence. He had long seen surveillance footage of me moving supplies in boxes a dozen days ago. He had also coveted these two women, Liu Qingwan and Liu Ruyan, for a long time. These people truly are tired of living. Let's go, leave none alive. I spoke indifferently. The two figures blurred, moving at extreme speed, and in the blink of an eye, they appeared before Wang Wu and the others. One fell with each strike. These individuals proved to be excellent practical training targets for Liu Ruyan. How do you feel? I turned to ask Liu Ruyan. I feel as if I've grown a little bit stronger. Liu Ruyan's expression remained calm, she carried no psychological burden, only a deeper yearning for power. This time I plan to visit Luocheng University. What do you think? Luocheng University? There should be plenty of supplies there. Universities host many intellectuals, perhaps we can find suitable collectible guides. I have no objections, I'll follow your lead. Liu Ruyan nodded. Her trust in me was growing increasingly strong. This man consistently brought her surprises. Then it's settled, I said, and then led Liu Ruyan away from the location. Only a few cold corpses remained on the ground. Currently, we lacked no resources, we were truly highly intelligent individuals and superhumans. Leaving Huading community, Liu Ruyan and I headed south. Luocheng University was located at the southernmost tip of Luocheng. This meant that the further south we traveled, the fewer zombies we encountered. It seemed a significant portion of the zombies were concentrated at Luocheng University, not yet having dispersed from it. Zhou Ci. Liu Ruyan suddenly spoke. I asked curiously, does our strength increase with the frequency and number of our intimate encounters? Liu Ruyan asked in a low voice, her face flushed. You actually figured this out? I was somewhat surprised. I had discovered this by chance while reviewing Liu Qingwan's personal information. At the time, I had just finished charging Liu Qingwan and felt a sense of incompleteness, when I inadvertently noticed her level had surprisingly risen to Tier 1, 2 stars. After inquiring with the system, I finally understood that for any goddess I had registered in the compendium, the fastest way to enhance their strength and level was to be charged by me. Regarding this, I could only remark, well, this certainly aligns with the system's nature. The growth was rapid. Although we had been training together for 3 days, I believed what truly contributed to my rapid advancement was our soy milk grinding sessions at night. By the end of her statement, Liu Ruyan had lowered her head, unable to look directly at me. Indeed. I am your power bank, and your abilities were awakened because of me. This cause and effect, it's not surprising. I nodded in response. What I mean is, will you be able to continue charging me after? Your energy is excellent, and I am also, not by you. Zhou Ci, I want to become stronger. Therefore, please help me. Liu Ruyan took my hand and said softly. No problem. For something like charging multiple times, I am naturally duty-bound and cannot shirk the responsibility. What fault could Liu Ruyan have? As she said, she merely wanted to become stronger. Half an hour later, Luocheng University. Liu Ruyan and I finally arrived at our destination for this outing. Without hesitation, the two seized the opportunity and rushed directly into experimental building number 1. Upon entering the experimental building, they suddenly discovered it was swarming with zombies. These zombies, some in tattered clothes, others covered in blood and gore, appeared utterly terrifying. They either shuffled slowly or sprinted rapidly, their targets seemingly Liu Ruyan and me, the intruders. I quickly shielded Liu Ruyan behind me, my gaze cautiously sweeping the surroundings. Facing such a multitude of zombies, a direct confrontation was certainly not the best strategy. Although Liu Ruyan felt a degree of fear, she knew even more clearly that this was no time to retreat. She gripped my hand tightly, offering silent support. A warmth spread through my heart. I took a deep breath and began to swiftly analyze the surrounding environment. The experimental building contained many usable obstacles and blind spots, perhaps these features could be exploited to contend with the zombies. I whispered to Liu Ruyan, Ruyan, stay close to me. We'll use the terrain to defeat them one by one. Liu Ruyan nodded, a resolute light gleaming in her eyes. The two carefully moved through the zombies, skillfully evading their attacks by utilizing obstacles and blind spots. I also did not forget to seek opportunities, striking back and knocking zombies to the ground one by one. Although the zombies were numerous, with the tacit cooperation between Liu Ruyan and me, we eliminated all of them and acquired 5 red crystal cores. The drop rate was indeed quite high. Let's eat some rice balls first to recover our strength. When we reach the second floor later, there might be another tough battle ahead. I took several rice balls from my backpack and handed them to Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan took the rice ball, took a small bite, and feeling the warmth and nourishment within, a wave of warmth spread through her heart. She knew how fortunate it was to have someone to rely on in this perilous world. Watching Liu Ruyan eat with relish, I also felt a touch of relief. Only by maintaining sufficient physical strength can one better cope with the challenges ahead. Do you want a red crystal? It can help you advance your realm, I inquired. I don't need it. It would be of greater help to you than to me, for with you by my side, I can continuously grow stronger. Liu Ruyan gently shook her head, her cheeks flushing once more. Since that is the case, I shall accept them. Without hesitation, I immediately crushed the 5 crystal cores and absorbed their invisible energy. I successfully advanced to the realm of Tier 1, 4 star. How do you feel? Liu Ruyan asked with curiosity. It feels like being recharged, I replied with a mischievous grin. Liu Ruyan immediately let out a soft cry of oh my. We had been fighting for a long time, creating a considerable commotion, yet there seemed to be no calls for help from the first floor, suggesting there might be no survivors left. Even so, we should still conduct a thorough check. I stopped teasing Ruyan and spoke seriously. Liu Ruyan and I split up, checking the laboratories one by one, confirming that there were indeed no survivors on the first floor. The two of them ascended to the second floor. To their surprise, The number of zombies on the second floor was not large, merely a few. Liu Ruyan and I eliminated them without hesitation. Facing the silent second floor, Liu Ruyan and I initially believed there would be no survivors here either, and that our search might prove futile. It was at this moment that an unexpected turn of events occurred. "Student Liu Ruyan, is that you?" A soft, alluring female voice suddenly resounded. Liu Ruyan and I followed the sound with our gaze, and through the laboratory window, we saw the woman inside. She appeared to be just over 30, yet her figure was exceptionally curvaceous and striking. She wore a white lab coat, yet it could not conceal her proud, tall, and shapely figure. Furthermore, her long dark hair, refined features, and the gold-rimmed glasses perched on her nose exuded an air of intellect and elegance, as if she had stepped out of a book. This striking contrast between her appearance, demeanor, and figure was truly unforgettable. "Teacher Luo!" Liu Ruyan exclaimed, surprised after recognizing the woman's face. Simultaneously, all information concerning this woman clearly appeared before my eyes. Name, Luo Wanqiu. Profession, Luo Chang University Doctoral Supervisor, a leading expert in the national weaponry field. Appearance score, 98, overall score, 99, pending awakened ability, SSS tier Psionic Metal Master, recharge count, 0, untouched, yet possesses a contrasting side. Intellectual mentor, enjoys teaching others, possesses a vast knowledge base, is intellectual and refined. In the future, she is expected to become an expert in thermal weapon manufacturing, creating various advanced thermal weapon equipment for her master. After the host enters her heart, a different, contrasting side of her may be discovered. After carefully reviewing Luo Wanqiu's panel, I immediately understood. Luo Wanqiu was the person I was looking for. I absolutely had to recharge her. Professor Luo Wanqiu is a very distinguished professor at Luochang University. I used to be her class representative, so I'm quite familiar with Teacher Luo, Liu Ruyan whispered, leaning closer to me. Coming back to my senses, I immediately smiled and spoke. "Hello, Teacher Luo, I am Zhou Ci." Inside the laboratory, Luo Wanqiu, separated by the window, subtly sized me up before politely replying, "Luo Wanqiu." Observing that Luo Wanqiu's vigilance remained high and she was unwilling to open the laboratory door, Liu Ruyan then continued in a coaxing tone, "Teacher Luo, do you not trust Zhou Ci? He is actually my boyfriend." Liu Ruyan's cheeks flushed slightly, and she proactively took my hand. "How did you arrive here?" Witnessing the intimacy between Liu Ruyan and me, Luo Wanqiu's worries gradually dissipated, for she had always maintained trust in Liu Ruyan's character. "We rushed directly from home. Come with us, we will ensure your safety." Noticing Luo Wanqiu beginning to relax her guard, Liu Ruyan immediately extended an enthusiastic invitation. Beside her, I offered Luo Wanqiu a reassuring smile. Having undergone ability enhancement, I now possessed a tall, slender figure, long legs, a robust physique, and a handsome, resolute face, which left a profound impression on Luo Wanqiu. "In that case, please come in first, I still need to organize some items." No sooner had Luo Wanqiu finished speaking, she vanished from the window to open the laboratory door. As a leading expert in the domestic field of weaponry, Luo Wanqiu was indeed exceptionally intelligent, her intellect far surpassing that of ordinary individuals. When she heard noises from the first floor while in her second-floor laboratory, she realized that someone had arrived. She had initially hoped it was the official rescue team, but upon realizing it was only Liu Ruyan and me, she understood that days after the apocalypse had descended, relying on official rescue was no longer practical. To survive in the apocalypse, one must either rely on formidable individual strength or engage in collective cooperation. After witnessing Liu Ruyan and me effortlessly eliminate the zombies on the second floor through the window, Luo Wanqiu became convinced that we must have awakened our abilities. The preceding conversation with Liu Ruyan and me had merely been a subtle test orchestrated by Luo Wanqiu. Now confirmed that Liu Ruyan and I harbored no malicious intent, but instead displayed much goodwill, Luo Wanqiu confidently allowed us to enter. The two finally gained entry into the laboratory. As soon as we stepped inside, I immediately noticed the precise experimental equipment, as well as the accumulated domestic waste left by Luo Wanqiu. During this period of the apocalypse, Luo Wanqiu had clearly endured a difficult existence. I looked towards Luo Wanqiu. Under close observation, her charm and temperament became even more prominent. Distinct from Liu Qingwan's innocent charm, Luo Wanqiu's beauty was a captivating fusion of allure and an aloof temperament. Luo Wanqiu wore a white lab coat over a tight-fitting black dress, and I instantly felt a powerful urge to tear it open. Such matters, of course, were not to be rushed. Teacher Luo. No sooner had she entered the laboratory than Liu Ruyan immediately gave Luo Wanqiu a big hug, and Luo Wanqiu, smiling radiantly, embraced her. Teacher Luo, are you carrying a truth at your waist? Yes, I made it myself. Otherwise, how could I have survived? Luo Wanqiu admitted it frankly, while she gave me a slight smile and a nod. What she needed to do now was to have a frank and in-depth discussion with Liu Ruyan and me, and demonstrate her capabilities. You are skilled at manufacturing firearms. Have you considered joining us? We have abundant resources, so supporting one more person is not an issue. Our combat strength is also formidable, enough to protect you in this apocalypse. If you are willing to produce firearms for us, we will undoubtedly become even more powerful. I walked over directly and made the suggestion with a straightforward smile. From Luo Wanqiu's demeanor, I had already discerned that she was more intelligent and strategic than Liu Ruyan. By simply presenting our conditions, I was confident that Luo Wanqiu, being a rational person, would surely choose to join us. A pleasant collaboration. As expected, after hearing my words, Luo Wanqiu extended her hand to me. A pleasant collaboration. I also extended my hand, smiling as I shook hands with Luo Wanqiu. The three of us set off together, heading towards home. Although there were some minor twists and turns on the way back, the journey was generally smooth. After a distinctive knock, Liu Qingwan, who had stayed home, opened the door. You're finally back. Liu Qingwan's voice was filled with pleasant surprise. Then she noticed behind the two stood a woman whose beauty and figure were no less impressive than the Su mother and daughter, and Luo Wanqiu's temperament was even superior. Liu Qingwan, who had initially felt a touch of jealousy, immediately calmed down after recalling her daughter's words, and urged the three to quickly enter the house. You must be Liu Qingwan, Ruyan's mother? My name is Luo Wanqiu, and I used to be Ruyan's teacher. Luo Wanqiu said with a smile, hello, it must have been very tough outside. I'll go prepare a grand meal to welcome you. Liu Qingwan immediately took on the role of hostess, responding with a smile. Welcome home, from now on, you are also a member of this family. I said to Luo Wanqiu with a smile from the side, and Luo Wanqiu nodded in agreement, not opposing my statement. Teacher Luo, this will be your room for now. We will rearrange rooms once the master finds a new shelter. Liu Qingwan warmly linked arms with Luo Wanqiu and directly led her into the secondary bedroom of the house. How did you just address Zhou Ci? Luo Wanqiu clearly heard Liu Qingwan's address for me this time and felt somewhat puzzled. Master, why do you ask? Master? Are you certain? This woman, just for a meal, actually voluntarily returned to my residence with me. When I asked what assistance she could offer, she enthusiastically changed her long hair, not only without sadness but rather with great joy. 5 seconds later, she went to the restroom, blushing. This was all because, 7 days ago, the apocalypse struck, causing animals and plants to mutate into various monsters. An F grade could tear apart a wild ox, a B grade could traverse the sky and sea, an A grade could move mountains with bare hands, and an S grade could even rend the void. However, I awakened the goddess Compendium System, which allows me to collect various goddesses. There were elegant noble women, beautiful female college students, cool and capable older sisters, and proud CEOs. They can not only acquire various foods and supernatural abilities but also remain active for 7 days without rest. At this moment, I looked at the system panel before me, which was brought about by the 7-hour effort that secured Wanqiu. Show, first tier, 4-star. Master of Space, Master Metalworker. Compendium Member, Luo Wanqiu. Ability, Master of Metal Arts. First tier star. Activated Companion. Wise Teacher. Eager to impart techniques, possessing a rich reserve of various methods. Elegant in demeanor, dignified and graceful. In the future, she is expected to become an equipment manufacturer, providing various equipment support for the host. Once the host gains a deeper understanding, they might discover her contrasting side. I retracted my gaze and offered a gentle smile to the woman who had just woken up. Are you well rested? Luo Wanqiu's pretty face flushed, her legs feeling a little numb. She nodded and picked up a steamed bun to eat. This is the key to your laboratory. After I took a sip of porridge, Luo Wanqiu accepted the key. After breakfast, you will go to your laboratory. First, forge 2 straight swords for Ruyan and me, this is an urgent need, and then cast a truth for Qingwan. You have now awakened your supernatural ability. I believe that with the enhancement of your power, your efficiency can be greatly improved. My good teacher. Luo Wanqiu was listening to my arrangements when I unexpectedly uttered such a remark, causing her heart to flutter with a pleasant sensation. Understood. No problem, leave it to me. He is truly so handsome and powerful. From yesterday until now, she hadn't yet had the chance to properly understand her own supernatural ability. Do not ask why, it is simply because I did not give her the time. At this thought, Luo Wanqiu ceased her infatuation, immediately focused her mind, and immersed herself in her thoughts, beginning to perceive her supernatural ability. After a brief period of familiarization, Luo Wanqiu's heart filled with joy. With the Master of Metal Arts, what kind of firearm can I not create? As for melee weapons, chuckles, I could make a truckload, any color you wish. Seeing Luo Wanqiu's joyful expression, my heart blossomed with happiness. Tonight, I shall return to attend to you. It seems I must quickly advance the 1v3 process. 1 hour later. Ruyan, this straight sword has been custom-made for the 2 of you. The length of the blade, the thickness of the edge, and the grip of the handle have all been meticulously designed according to your physical data. Furthermore, the metal material I selected ranks among the top 3 nationwide in both hardness and sharpness. In the laboratory, only 2 samples of this material remain. After receiving the straight swords, Ruyan and I instinctively performed a sword flourish. The feel of them was incredibly comfortable, as if they were extensions of our arms. Well done. I was in a great mood. Holding Luo Wanqiu, I rewarded her with some gentle caresses. After receiving my praise, Luo Wanqiu's lips curved upward almost imperceptibly, a smile she quickly suppressed. A mere Zhou Ci, isn't he easily handled? Thank you, Teacher Luo. Tonight, I'll let you have Zhou Ci. Having said this, Liu Ruyan gave me a push, sending me into Luo Wanqiu's embrace. At the same time, she let out a peal of silvery laughter. And Qingwan, this is your truth. Rest assured, it's also specially customized for you. Luo Wanqiu raised an eyebrow at Liu Ruyan's playfulness, then handed a truth to Liu Qingwan, and began to speak. Thank you for the trouble, Teacher Luo. Liu Qingwan politely expressed her gratitude. No need to be so polite, Qingwan. If you and Ruyan can help me share some of Zhou Ci's firepower, I'll be very happy. After these words were spoken, everyone smiled happily. Unexpectedly, the 3 women found it so difficult to part with their love and hate for my cannon. Time flew by amidst this peaceful life. In the blink of an eye, I, along with the 3 goddesses, Liu Qingwan, Liu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu, had already lived under the same roof for 5 days. During these 5 days, everyone carried out their respective duties daily, engaging in training, grinding soy milk, and playing billiards. Regrettably, Wanqiu always used shyness as an excuse, preventing me from a 1v3 encounter. It seems I'll have to ask the system for a 5 cm increase package. Just as everyone was pleasantly enjoying their shy days, some insensitive person came knocking. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, a rapid and loud knocking broke the tranquility, followed by a woman's piercing scream for help, cutting through the air. Zhou Ci, I know you're in there, please save me. I'm almost done for, I don't want to die. Please, open the door quickly. If you just open the door, I'll do anything. A woman was crying and desperately pounding on the door, her voice echoing throughout the corridor. What's going on here? Liu Ruyan, who was practicing swordsmanship with me, stopped her straight saber and furrowed her brows. I have no idea. I swear to my second brother, I've never fooled around with other women. I'm also really hard right now. Who the hell is this, coming to knock on the door and constantly shouting my name? No wonder I didn't want to go to the lab today, turns out my lovely sister-in-law has some big news. Luo Wanqiu emerged from the secondary bedroom, arms crossed, and said with a smile. Shall we go out and take a look? Liu Qingwan still trusted me implicitly, and she asked softly. Her wailing outside the door constantly isn't solving anything. Everyone, be on high alert. I fear a trap. I gripped my straight sword tightly in my hand. Upon hearing my deduction, Liu Qingwan, Liu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu all tensed, their expressions grave. Liu Ruyan, straight sword in hand, followed closely behind me. Around Luo Wanqiu, 12 exquisitely crafted small metal arrows floated, their special effects maximized. When Luo Wanqiu first demonstrated her abilities to me, I was so astonished that I practically drooled. To claim her for my own, I aggressively gave her an injection. But I digress. My thoughts returned. Liu Qingwan, wielding truth, brought up the rear. A soft click. I opened the door and instantly pressed my straight sword against the woman's throat. Simultaneously, a system panel materialized before my eyes. Zhang Xiao, Gym Personal Trainer, Appearance Rating 80, Comprehensive Rating 59, awaiting Awakened Ability. Charging Count, 212, Battle Hardened, Biomother, Breaking Bad. It is strongly advised that the host does not add her to the compendium. Holy hell! A Biomother knocking at my door? How do you know my name? And what do you mean by asking me to save you? My straight sword instantly grazed Zhang Xiao's neck as I demanded fiercely. If you can't explain yourself clearly, then you can say goodbye now. As I finished speaking, I swung my straight sword, pressing it deeper into Zhang Xiao's neck, just a hair's breadth from severing her artery. Wang Lu, the security captain of Unyielding residential area, has colluded with all the remaining living security guards and the residents who are out of supplies. They intend to kill you and seize your provisions. Zhang Xiao's voice trembled slightly, clearly terrified by my ruthless actions. A cold glint flashed in my eyes. So, it's that scoundrel Wang Lu. It seems he's tired of living. As I spoke, the straight sword in my hand dug in a little deeper, and a streak of blood instantly appeared on Zhang Xiao's neck. Zhang Xiao let out a gasp. Several others and I were used as bait to attract zombies. All the zombies in Unyielding residential area have now been drawn here. During this process, everyone else was bitten and killed by zombies on the way, except for me. After hearing Zhang Xiao's words, I realized the situation and, looking closely, saw several bleeding wounds all over her body, stained and dripping with blood. And Zhang Xiao's route happened to lead directly from downstairs to my home upstairs. In my heart, I cursed Wang Lu 100 times over. Zhou Ci, don't you like beautiful girls? What do you think of me? Please, take me in. I'll do anything. Seeing my silence, Zhang Xiao, fearing for her life, hastily pledged her loyalty. It was fine when she didn't mention it, but the moment she did, I felt a wave of nausea. With a swift swing of the straight sword in my hand, I severed Zhang Xiao's neck, sending her to meet her demise. You, a biochemical host, why do you need so many words? The knife feels very handy. Turning around, I then smiled and said a sentence to Luo Wanqiu. Stepping over Zhang Xiao's corpse, I flicked the straight sword in my hand, the blood splatters fell off, leaving it as clean as new. Wanqiu, and Qingwan, I will take you to kill the enemy. My voice was as cold as ice, as hard as iron. My eyes were filled with killing intent. The next second, a dense horde of zombies, with bloodshot eyes, surged out from the stairwell. In numbers ranging from 3 to 5, or even 7 to 8, they came in wave after wave. It is also time to test the results of our training during this period. With their combined efforts, every swing of the straight sword, every upward slash, forward thrust, and horizontal cut, eliminated a zombie. Luo Wanqiu, responsible for providing ranged fire support, simultaneously controlled 12 small metal arrows. These metal arrows sliced through the air with piercing sounds, accurately penetrating the skull of every zombie. Even Liu Qingwan, using her truth, slowly aimed and shot down zombies one by one. Momentarily, the zombies fell one after another. This was not all. Opposite us, a throng of people stood oppressively, guarding the entrance to the main gate. Zhou Ci, as one of our community's residents, now that the apocalypse has arrived and everyone needs to help each other, instead of sharing some supplies with everyone, you are keeping a woman hidden away for yourself. What do you expect everyone to think? Many people have fainted from hunger at home, how can your conscience be at peace? Wang Lu spoke with an expression of sincerity. One who didn't know him might even think he was a remarkably good person. As the former captain of the community's security team, it was he who had discovered me moving boxes and boxes of supplies through surveillance footage. However, his brother Wang Wu and several subordinates were killed by me because they were too greedy, wanting to monopolize the supplies and the women. This matter could not be blamed on Wang Lu. Wang Lu also saw that after I went out, I actually brought another woman back home. How could Wang Lu's fragile sensibilities tolerate this? Thus, under his deliberate instigation, numerous residents, whose homes were already devoid of supplies, clamored to have me killed. His plan was to select a few unlucky individuals like Zhang Qiao as scapegoats, using them to attract zombies and drive the tiger to devour the wolf. Wang Lu's plan was executed very successfully. However, to his surprise, the four of us fought our way through the horde of zombies. The people around us, however, paid no mind to our combat power, they only wanted supplies. Hand over the supplies. Hand them over. The clamor of these people grew louder and louder, making my eardrums ache. A loud bang instantly silenced everyone present. Liu Qingwan was seen holding her lady's truth with both hands, firing a shot towards the clamoring crowd. Among them, an unlucky audience member was tragically sent to meet their maker by Liu Qingwan. She has a truth. She actually has a truth. Run! Seeing the fallen body, someone screamed in terror. And so, this disorganized mob instantly scattered like birds and beasts. Qingwan, next time give a warning before firing. I almost lost my composure. I pinched Liu Qingwan's cheek, saying helplessly. It was an accidental discharge just now. Be careful yourself. Since the killing has begun, let none of these people be spared. Liu Ruyan and Luo Wanqiu glanced at me, about to nod in agreement, when they heard me speak again. Let's keep a few alive, I'll still have a use for them later. In short order, everyone present except Wang Lu and a few of his followers were hunted down and eliminated. Is this what you meant by their purpose? Luo Wanqiu asked, her arms crossed, as she watched Wang Lu and his group diligently squatting and lying on the ground, scrubbing the stairwell trash. What else did you expect? Then you continue to supervise them well, I'll head home now. I wonder what delicious food Qingwan will make later. Luo Wanqiu blew a kiss and headed towards home. After Luo Wanqiu left, I stood before Wang Lu. Are there any people in the community who didn't respond to you, who didn't participate in this incident? There is indeed one household, on the top floor of the building next to yours. That person reacted very quickly, sealing off the stairwell entrance when the apocalypse arrived. I hadn't expected this hooting community to harbor such a remarkable individual. After I dealt with Wang Lu and his group and returned home, Liu Qingwan immediately ran out to greet me. Go quickly shower and change, we'll have dinner soon. Liu Qingwan skillfully began to undress me. Don't rush, let Zhou Ci absorb these few crystal nuclei first. Liu Ruyan walked over from the sofa, holding 10 crystal cores that had dropped after clearing out the zombies. I took the crystal cores and rubbed them on the two women for a while, causing them to exclaim repeatedly. I only withdrew my hand an hour later. As I absorbed them, I immediately felt a rush of warmth directly to my dantian. The golden dragon showed signs of stirring again. After all the energy from the crystal cores was absorbed, I felt my body brimming with power, and my little ding-dong felt incredibly distended. I hurried to the bathroom to pull it open and take a look. This is a standard size 18, tonight, I can take on a 1v3 challenge. Having just broken through, my body was covered in impurities, so I prepared to take a shower immediately. Liu Qingwan and Liu Ruyan, seeing my breakthrough, immediately embraced me happily. Luo Wanqiu stood aside with her arms crossed. Thinking of something unknown, she shivered, and her face softened with allure. You two go ahead, I'm going to get some beauty sleep. Luo Wanqiu smiled and greeted the mother and daughter. Teacher Luo, I'll call you when it's time to eat later. Qingwan also responded with a smile. Ruyan, after a brief greeting, ran off to the bedroom. It was unclear what she intended to do. A short while later, Liu Ruyan skillfully entered the bathroom, carrying a bath towel and a QQ underwear. I was just applying shower gel when I heard the door open. I thought Teacher Luo had come to give me a lesson, especially since I had just gained 5 centimeters, and wanted to test its effectiveness. A soft, nimble lamb snuggled against me from behind. I hastily rinsed off the foam and saw who it was. "Do you wish to make progress again?" "Oh, you! You're progressing so fast, I'm afraid I'll be left too far behind. What is that in your hand?" I looked at the underwear Ruyan was holding behind her back. As Ruyan walked out of the bathroom, steadying herself against the wall, Qingwan was already standing by with her arms crossed, waiting for her. Ruyan shyly glanced at her mother. Her mother said nothing, but helped Ruyan to the bedroom. In the bathroom, I was now in a dilemma, unable to advance or retreat. My physical condition was indeed greatly improved after the breakthrough. Just as I was about to leave, Teacher Luo, whom I had been thinking about, walked in. "You two are making quite a ruckus. My beauty sleep has been ruined again. How will you compensate me?" "What further compensation could there be? How about I allow you to rest for 3 days? I also aspire to swiftly enhance my strength. Compared to Qingwan and Ruyan, I am currently too weak. You must provide me with additional lessons to catch up." Teacher Luo took my hand and placed it in the forbidden zone, her voice gradually becoming more impassioned. 135 minutes later, amidst the breaths that followed the release of an indescribable suppression, Teacher Luo finally softened, still breathing heavily. I carried Teacher Luo back to the bedroom, covered her with a blanket, and gently kissed her lips. As I stepped out of the room, Qingwan immediately stumbled into my arms, her eyes glistening with moisture. Indeed, she was a woman like water. Such clear favoritism, as they once again received special attention. I knew this was not the time for words, it was time to let her experience the surge of power. After an intense session lasting 168 minutes with Qingwan, she finally ceased observing me with such casual ease. I held her gently, whispering sweet nothings that coaxed soft giggles from her. For Liu Qingwan, who now belonged to me entirely, satisfying her master was her greatest desire as a maid-wife, and she acted accordingly. This was the fundamental reason she could endure 168 minutes under my command. I took Qingwan to Teacher Luo's room. Henceforth, they could engage together, indeed, it was suggested they do so. By working in concert, they would even find moments for respite. I chuckled as I stated my concern that they wouldn't endure it individually. Understood. On the surface, both Liu Ruyan and Luo Wanqiu nodded in unison, agreeing. Yet, their eyes exchanged playful glances and silent accusations, while their lips, eyelids, and other facial features strained, as if engaged in a clandestine, encrypted communication. "What do you say, Teacher Luo? I'm certainly ready for another round later. Are you still capable? This time, with the two of us working together, I believe there will be no issue." "One can only hope. Teacher Luo, be more confident, perk up. The last several solo encounters, you were the one to first beg for mercy and yield." I know. You don't need to say more this time, just watch my performance." To become stronger and to satisfy the master, and to prove that she was not both inept and overly eager, she offered a knowing smile before suddenly extending her devil's claws towards me. "What are you doing?" Luo Wanqiu and Liu Qingwan remained silent, evidently determined to rise where they had fallen. The long night stretched ahead, and there was no inclination for sleep. Soon after, the sounds from the second bedroom began to grow more intense. "I will show you who the true master is." Sleeping together under one quilt. Tonight's dinner is dispensable. In the early morning, I woke up early and performed a set of Tai Chi on the balcony. Then I heard Qingwan's voice, "Come quickly, dinner is ready." I replied and then slowly walked into the living room. Today, all 3 women were dressed remarkably beautifully. "There's another matter I need to discuss with you all." I suddenly recalled that intriguing person from Unyielding community. Liu Qingwan, Liu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu all listened with full concentration. In this incident, there was one person who did not participate, and that person lives on the 32nd floor of the building next to ours. I intend to go and meet him. Liu Ruyan, Liu Qingwan, and Luo Wanqiu all nodded in agreement. As for all the details of this incident in Huading community, they are now concluded. In the early morning, without disturbing Liu Qingwan, Liu Ruyan, or Luo Wanqiu, I quietly got out of bed and discreetly left home. I must continue to gather supplies for the family. On this outing, I also plan to hunt a sufficient number of first-tier zombies and collect enough core crystals to upgrade myself to the second tier. To ensure the safety of this operation, I not only carried my own straight blade but also armed myself with Luo Wanqiu's 12 small metal arrows and her homemade revolver, truly armed to the teeth. After all, there are so many beautiful things that I find hard to let go of. I left a note for my 3 loved ones, and after making thorough preparations, I stepped out of the house once more. As I stepped out of the apartment building and into the open, I instinctively glanced towards the 32nd floor of the adjacent building. There was still such a person in Huading community who I found rather interesting. After a brief moment of thought, I decided to first go and meet this mysterious individual. When I reached the floor just below the top one, I unexpectedly discovered that the path leading upstairs was blocked. I attempted to move one of the cabinets, but found myself utterly unable to budge it. If it were to be moved, it was certainly not the weight of just one cabinet, but the combined weight of dozens. No wonder Wang Lu had said they couldn't handle it. I directed the small metal arrows to aim for a gap, successfully reaching the top floor, and used an arrow tip to knock on the door. A woman's voice, both cold and carrying a hint of panic, came out. It was at the very instant this voice finished speaking. Before my eyes, the system panel suddenly appeared. To my surprise, this goddess turned out to be a Thor in every sense of the word. I quite liked it. I deliberately cleared my throat and said, "I am Zhou Ci, your neighbor from the unit next door." From 2 flights of stairs below, I addressed Liu Qingwan. Liu Qingwan responded, "Are you that Zhou Ci, the one with abundant supplies and a preference for beautiful women?" Upon hearing the name, Liu Qingwan instinctively inquired. She had seen this information in the owner's group chat. It was how others described me. In reality, I merely wished to ensure their safety, providing them with a refuge in this dangerous apocalypse. My scumbag playbook lines came out without a second thought. Yet, every word I spoke was without the slightest exaggeration. Through this method of grinding soy milk, helping them awaken their powers, and even enhancing their abilities and levels, wasn't I making them stronger? He's nothing but a scumbag, what's with the pretense? I don't believe any of that nonsense you're spouting, Liu Qingwan said with displeasure. As a pure love warrior, she detested nothing more than a philandering, promiscuous scumbag like me. Miss Liu, regarding my personal matters, I believe we can set them aside for now. Seeing is believing, hearing is often mere hearsay. Should the opportunity arise, you are welcome to inquire with my female companions yourself. But for now, I wish to ask Miss Liu a question. Do you truly intend never to descend from your floor? Are your provisions more ample than mine, enough to see you through this crisis? I posed the question tentatively. I was determined to add Liu Qingwan, the formidable CEO, to my collection. To gain the upper hand, I needed to start with practical matters, such as her supply reserves. After hearing my words, Liu Qingwan inevitably fell into deep thought. She knew her own situation best. Currently, her household supplies could only last for 3 days. Once provisions ran out, the consequences would be self-evident. However, she had already cut off her own means of descending to the lower floors. This left Liu Qingwan, who had always dominated the business world, at a loss for what to do. Although the stairs separated us, I understood that Liu Qingwan had not closed the door to communication. You don't need to worry about these issues, I will consider them myself. After a moment, Liu Qingwan's distinctly unconvincing reply drifted down to me from above. Perhaps you don't trust me now, and may even feel some aversion towards me, but I still sincerely invite you to join us. I am about to set out to find supplies. When I return, I hope you will have made your decision. With that, I turned and left. I gently waved my hand, and the small metal arrow, which had been hidden behind Liu Qingwan's door, immediately traversed through various obstacles and returned to my grasp. Liu Qingwan looked at the sharp metal arrow, a flicker of fear crossing her eyes. She clearly understood what this implied. Liu Qingwan also realized another point. Had I intended to take her life directly, or use her life as leverage to force her into certain actions, she, being utterly defenseless, would have been incapable of any reaction or counterattack, ultimately leaving her at my mercy. However, I did not do so. This immediately elevated my image significantly in Liu Qingbao's mind. It seemed this person was not malevolent after all. Dongxing Convenience Store was one of the few large convenience stores in the suburbs of Luochang. Upon arrival, I easily scaled the almost non-existent barrier and entered the convenience store. Contrary to the expectation of a convenience store being rich in supplies, the entire place was dead silent, enveloped in darkness, and eerily quiet. After reaching the essential goods section, to avoid unnecessary trouble, I quickly cleared out necessities like food and vegetables, preparing to leave immediately. As I was thinking this, at least 8 zombies, who had been lurking in the darkness for a long time, simultaneously lunged at me. In the critical moment, I swiftly drew my straight blade and forcefully swept it across the 4 zombies in front of me, cutting them in half at the waist. As for those behind me, I controlled 4 small metal arrows, directly piercing the heads of the other 4 zombies. Even after dealing with this unexpected attack, I dared not lower my guard. My breathing was steady, my body tense, maintaining a battle stance, as my sharp gaze swept the surroundings. However, after a long wait, there was no further movement. I could already sense that some ancient entity must have awakened its intelligence, for why else would it cease attack after failing its initial strike? It seems I can only carve a bloody path out. With this thought, I did not hesitate and raised the straight blade in my hand. 12 small metal arrows were already suspended in the air. My leg muscles suddenly exploded with power, and my body shot forth like an arrow released from a bow. Simultaneously, the horde of zombies that had surrounded me in the darkness ceased their lurking, all emerging, vowing to keep me as their blood meal. Facing such a sudden onslaught of zombies, I felt no surprise. I had long anticipated that after its probing, the high-level zombie would surely have made subsequent arrangements. In that case, let us fight. With a flick of my wrist, the straight blade swung continuously. Thus, wherever I went, both before and behind me, the ground gradually became littered with the corpses of zombies. A zombie, thin as a stick, small in stature, and with dark skin, glared fiercely at me. Evidently, this was a high-tier zombie. In the next moment, I boldly made my move. There was no need to listen to a zombie babbling like an infant. However, this time, I switched from my usual single-handed grip on the blade to wielding it with both hands. My entire attack was executed with considerable method. Yet, it was even swifter and more ferocious, causing blood to splatter from this small, inconsequential boss. Upon witnessing my formidable strength, the high-tier zombie instantly became flustered. With an instinctive, intelligent tilt of its head, it dodged my katana's fatal strike. But then, bang! 6 gunshots rang out in quick succession, 6 bullets forming a single line, powerfully piercing its skull. Ha ha ha, you didn't expect that, did you? I still had truth in used. Smiling, I blew away a wisp of smoke from the barrel of my revolver. Underfoot were crystal cores scattered everywhere. Such prosperity. Such prosperity. It was time to level up. Later, I would go find my big Lei and discuss how to further develop our relationship. Controlling a small metal arrow, I knocked on Liu Qing's door. The door was then opened. Zhou Ci, is that you? Liu Qingbao's clear, melodious voice, cool yet pleasant, once again rang in my ears. It's me, Miss Liu. I'm back. This time out, I found more than enough supplies. Would you like me to show them to you? I said with a smile. Liu Qingbao pursed her lips and fell into contemplation. On the one hand, she felt I was not a bad person, merely somewhat fickle. On the other hand, she wondered if this might merely be a facade, a deliberate attempt to gain favor. At this moment, I had just arrived at the doorway of Liu Qingbao's room. Miss Liu, what have you decided regarding what I said earlier? You should consider it carefully, the offer won't last forever. Receiving no reply from Liu Qingbao, I continued to inquire, quite amicably. I expertly executed this letting go to capture strategy, understanding that I needed to create a sense of urgency in Liu Qingbao's heart. You let me think carefully. When faced with survival, no one can escape conventionality, not even the usually aloof CEO, Liu Qing. The fact that she did not immediately reject me proved that, deep down, she was already slowly attempting to accept me. "Miss Lung, do you know, I have actually admired you for a long time." Upon hearing Liu Qingwan's words, my heart swelled with delight, understanding that this indicated a promising development. Therefore, I immediately seized this opportunity, intending to press my advantage while Liu Qingwan was flustered and disoriented. What did you say?" Liu Qingwan's voice, seemingly startled by my words, rose significantly in both volume and pitch. "Miss Lung, even before the apocalypse, I had read the Luocheng News exclusive interview with you. After all, you are one of our Luocheng's top 10 outstanding young entrepreneurs. I watched you in that interview, speaking eloquently to the camera and reporter. I observed you under the spotlight, dominating the business world. In that moment, I found myself drawn to you. I could also clearly discern the sorrow and fatigue etched between your brows. Managing a technology company with thousands of employees under your leadership is, naturally, a colossal undertaking. Behind the glamorous image you presented on camera and in interviews, I could also perceive the immense pressure you endured and the diligent efforts you invested. In that moment, I genuinely wished to protect you and alleviate your worries and difficulties. However, as you know, I was merely an ordinary person in society, with no opportunity to even approach you. And now, destiny has granted me this chance to be close to you, an opportunity one deeply cherish. I long to be closer to you. I only wonder if you would be willing to grant me this opportunity." I then self-indulgently launched into my affectionate yet manipulative speech, a scumbag's playbook addressed to Liu Qingwan. "Then how do you explain all those beautiful women around you?" As expected, Liu Qingwan instinctively vocalized the question that weighed most heavily on her mind. "Miss Lung, you must understand that we are currently living in an apocalyptic world. Seeking warmth and solidarity with others is human nature, or rather, it is a necessary course of action. During our mutual support in resisting zombies and villains, it is only natural for feelings to develop between us. I do share an emotional bond with them. Liu Qingwan alone was the white moonlight in my heart, and to win her over, I truly racked my brains. I also believe that I would undoubtedly be captivated by Liu Qing. After all, who wouldn't be attracted to a Thor? This particular maneuver, however, was akin to getting on the bus first and buying the ticket later. Zhou Ci, I will tentatively trust you this time. But how do you propose to deal with the dozens of stacked cabinets blocking our path?" In that moment, Liu Qingwan conceded that she was somewhat swayed. After all, even a CEO must eat, and this necessity allowed her to temporarily overlook the various confidants surrounding me. "Miss Lung, you simply need to anticipate my performance." I joyfully roared, knowing that Liu Qingwan's words had sealed the deal. My entire body surged with vital energy, invisible waves of qi churned, as layers of martial aura burst forth, directly pulverizing the obstructive cabinets in my path to absolute dust. With my hands in my pockets, I ascended the stairs slowly and steadily, reaching the top floor, and stood opposite Liu Qingwan. And when I stood before her in such a violent yet undeniably dashing manner, like a savior, a warm smile gracing my face, at that very moment, Liu Qingwan distinctly knew that her heart, against her better judgment, had been stirred. Especially since both my appearance and physique were utterly flawless. Liu Qingwan distinctly heard her heart pounding like a drum within her chest. Is this the feeling of love at first sight, like in TV dramas? Feeling her intense heartbeat, Liu Qing couldn't help but ponder to herself. "Miss Lung, let me formally introduce myself. My name is Zhou Ci." With a warm smile on my face, I extended a hand towards Liu Qing. Hello." Liu Qingwan, just recovering from my dashing appearance and her own inner thoughts, blushed slightly. It can only be said that whether it was my appearance, my physique, or my entrance befitting a destined partner, all of it captivated and enchanted the pure-hearted Liu Qingwan. Her ideal man seemed to have arrived, riding on auspicious colorful clouds, to rescue her. After cautiously glancing at me again, Liu Qingwan hastily shook my hand, and then did not let go. After clearly discerning the goddess's beauty and figure before me, I was stunned. Yes, I was simply stunned without any warning. Indeed, seeing is believing. Liu Qingwan possessed aloof eyes, a prominent nose, and serene features. Her cool, fair skin further accentuated her extraordinary elegance and detachment. She had a tall, slender physique, at least 172 centimeters in height, and paired with a pair of red-soled high heels, she exuded the complete aura of a cool and aloof female CEO. Her pair of long, slender, and perfectly straight legs were simply mesmerizing. Such beauty, such a figure, truly worthy of being called a goddess. Especially her slightly wavy, long black hair, cascading down to her chest, which instantly captured all my attention. For a moment, I found myself gazing in a daze. I swore in my heart that I would personally unleash this nuclear strike, exclusively reserved for the god of thunder. Glancing at their tightly clasped hands, Liu Qing, who had initially wished to hold on a little longer, instinctively tried to withdraw her small hand. However, firmly held by my large hand, how could she possibly break free so easily? "You're hurting my hand," Liu Qing asked, a hint of shyness in her voice. What did you just say?" Awakened by Liu Qingbao's cool voice, I had not clearly heard her question at all. "Shouldn't you let go?" We aren't at that stage yet. At the very least, you should confess your feelings to me first before we can make it official." As she spoke the last sentence, Liu Qingbao's voice was almost softer than a mosquito's buzz. This, defining the relationship? Had Liu Qing now actually convinced herself? I had not anticipated that events would unfold so far beyond my expectations. I had originally prepared myself to pursue Liu Qing diligently, ready for a protracted battle of wills. Yet, it now came to be, naturally and without effort. I did not release Liu Qing's slender hand. Instead, I assertively pulled her into my embrace. "Liu Qingba, are you hinting at something?" Liu Qingbao's cheeks were now so flushed they seemed to bleed. She quickly attempted to deny, but her words appeared pale and powerless under my deep gaze. A faint smile played on my lips as I leaned close to Liu Qingbao's ear, exhaled softly, and spoke in a low voice. "Whether you are or not, I am taking it seriously." Without waiting for Liu Qingbao's reaction, I lowered my head and directly kissed her soft lips. Liu Qingbao froze completely, her mind utterly blank in that moment. It was only when I slowly released her that she seemed to awaken from a dream, her eyes wide as she looked at me. I chuckled softly, then reached out and gently caressed Liu Qingbao's cheek. "You are unwilling? Must I repeat myself? Qing, I told you, I like you. Be my girlfriend." I gazed intently at Liu Qing, speaking with sincere conviction. My gaze towards Liu Qing was filled with both affection and steadfastness. Ah, the god of thunder, who could not love her? She is the ultimate dream of all our male compatriots. Upon hearing my cad rhetoric, Liu Qingba momentarily felt herself utterly swept away by my incredibly smooth series of maneuvers. Should I accept? Is it too fast? But I also really want to be in a relationship, having been single since birth for 20 years. Moreover, in this apocalypse, one could perish at any moment. No more overthinking, I will accept Zhou Ci's confession. I want to be in a relationship with him. Thus, Liu Qingba demonstrated her stance through her actions. She slightly stood on tiptoes, cupped my face with her hands, and then, facing my redacted, she kissed me directly. I had clearly not expected Liu Qingba to be so forward. I was first startled, then a flicker of surprise and amusement crossed my eyes. I held Liu Qingba tightly, deepening the kiss. At this moment, their heartbeats seemed to merge as one. The surrounding world seemed to stand still at this instant. Taking the initiative, I then showed Liu Qing what a true French kiss entailed. Liu Qing felt as though she could barely breathe at this moment. I had been kissing her for what felt like several minutes, until her legs grew weak. Were it not for my constant embrace, Liu Qing felt she would have collapsed, her entire body giving way. Unable to speak for the moment, she could only voice her objection by weakly pounding my broad chest with her small fists. I was completely lost in a state of euphoria, oblivious to everything around me. As several minutes subtly passed, I finally, reluctantly, parted from Liu Qingba. A delicate thread formed between our lips. "Qing, you are truly exquisite." I gently stroked the beautiful hair by Liu Qingba's ear, my voice soft, my smile overflowing with warmth and affection. You are truly too naughty. This was my first kiss, and you treated me this way." Liu Qingba wrapped her arms around my neck, her cheeks flushed, yet she bravely met my gaze, expressing herself shyly. "Do you not like it? This is proof of my love for you, my redacted infatuation." I replied as if it were the most natural thing, each of my sweet nothings meticulously crafted to strike Liu Qing's heart, leaving her both shy and deeply moved. Liu Qingwan nodded, a smile blossoming on her face, impossible to suppress. Then let's kiss again. Before I had even finished speaking, I kissed her once more, giving Liu Qingwan no chance to refuse. My hands began to move like a playful dragon. Liu Qingwan's eyes widened, and she could only emit soft whimpers. Gradually, she began to accept my advances, her mind already envisioning what was to come.